Hello and welcome to the Futurist 3D video training series. My name is Jeff Christiana and this is video number 36 of the Skeinforge 47 video series on how to calibrate your new tip. So when your printer ships, you get these profiles. These profiles are calibrated for the 0.35 tip that comes default with our printers. Now if you want to buy a new tip from us, I recommend that you really don't go lower than 0.35. I mean, you can go to 0.11, but any kind of dust particles, any kind of contamination, anything at all is going to plug that tip. And unless you're doing some really fine detailed work, like almost in a 2D, almost like a print 2D, very detailed type scrolling or something, then you'd want a detailed tip. But for most of your objects, you're going to care about it. All you really care about is your layer height. You want the sides of your object to be as smooth as possible, and it really depends on what you're printing. So if you're just going to print things from things in verse, that don't have extreme high detail from the top down, your side is what you care about. You want your object as smooth as possible, and there's a lot of things you can do to make it smooth. Do sanding. Sanding actually works very well with different levels of grit. Start out with your coarser and work your way up. And I'm going to post some pictures of some sanded objects that just look absolutely amazing, and you don't have to spend the time waiting for your print job to print out at 0.15 layer thickness, which takes hours versus 3 minutes at 0.55. So with our current tip, we have been able to get 0.15 through 0.55 with a 0.35 layer with tip size. So obviously 0.35 is your optimal, and that's kind of a happy medium. If you're printing a really small object, you're doing some detailed work, I would do a 0.15. It works very well, but it also increases your print time and also increases the number of layers. So let's say your 0.55 is 100 layers, this will be 500 or more layers, and you create a lot of G-code. It takes a lot longer. So if you're going to print yourself out of a garbage can with our big printers, you want to do the highest number you can. And even this number, even this 0.55 isn't big enough for an object that size. And the problem is, our tips are 0.35. This will cover the majority of people, but we're having people that are printing objects that are over, up to 20 inches tall, and Replicator G just can't handle it. So what we need to do is we need to increase your tip size, let's say 1 millimeter. And what we're going to do is we'll create a profile for 1 millimeter layer. Now out of a 1 millimeter tip, you can probably get up to 1.5 millimeters out of it for layer height. So let's say, anyway, so if you want to change your tip size, no matter if you're going smaller on your tip size or larger on your tip size, we're going to want to do these key areas. So we're going to go ahead and go in here to edit. Now going from 0.35, let's lay out 0.35 here. Let's get our Skeinforge up. Let's put carve up. That's the first area we're going to target. So you got layer height. So what's going to happen here is, let's actually talk about, let's look from the top down. That would be the best. Let's go ahead and put a box here. This will be your outer perimeter. That's your outer perimeter of your object. And we're going to go here and select, let's go ahead and make our interior. So let's talk about your first layer. So what's going to happen is you got a 0.35 tip. So you're doing your layers. Actually, let's make this bigger so you can see easier. let's just say you've got your so your tip comes down, you're laying, you know, you're all calibrated. Your plastic is just touching, you know, it's just touching. And it's keeping this, and actually carve 1.48, that is your outside. That's your outside. So you got your inside perimeter and then your outside perimeter. So this is the distance, this number here, this 1.48 is the distance between the two. And then if you go over here to fill, scroll all the way down, your infill width over thickness 1.48. So 1.48 is your distance between these two, your two lines, extruded lines. So let's say you're doing that. You're coming along, you're doing that. Okay, so this is all fine. You can't see daylight in between your object. You know, you don't have bunching happening. You know, it's nice and filled in. It's all calibrated for 0.35. And then you come along and you want to increase your tip size to 0.1. So let's see what happens. If you don't change your width, your infill width over thickness, things are going to come in and continue to lay down plastic just like it was before. So you've got major overlap. Major overlap. What's happening now is you're getting way too much plastic. They're way too close together. It's going to start bunching up. It's going to start just creating just a big old mess. So what you want to do is you want to change your infill width over thickness to where each one of these newer extrusions is just right next, just side by side to each other. Now part of this is not wholly everything. We're going to have to go into our speed now, and we need to adjust speed because we want to move quickly. We got this 1 millimeter tip extruding at 1.5 and we want to move really fast. So we want to move, the faster we move, the thinner this will get. So let's say, I'm going to drop it down to 25. So let's say we're moving faster. We just increased our speed, so now our width is starting to suck back in, but we are laying down for our layer height a 1 millimeter, but it's not, you know, putting as much plastic on our width. So this could be brought closer together. So you kind of have to play with those settings to get the speed up, so you're laying down your plastic quickly, and then you want to adjust your width settings. And you might even start out with, go back over here to fill, go back over here and make this the largest you can. So make this a 2 or 3, you know, just make this a larger number. Print out a calibration plate, see what it looks like, see what you have to do. You know, adjust your speed. You want to increase your speed. You could also adjust your flow rate, but you know, if you're not getting enough plastic out, then you want to adjust your flow rate. But if you're getting plenty of plastic and you want to move quicker, I would just increase your feed rate to move quicker, lay down more. Your print job is going to print faster. And this is just the same with going with a smaller tip. If you go with a 0.11, you're going to want to definitely reduce the size of your infill width over thickness, and on your carve you want to reduce your perimeter width over thickness. Keep these numbers the same. Keep your perimeter the same as your infill width over thickness. So the areas you want to target is carve, your perimeter width over thickness, and you definitely want to change this. Your layer thickness, a 1 millimeter tip, I would change that to, well, it depends. You know, either that's going to be a 1.5, because a 1 millimeter tip, we got a 0.35 tip, and I'm able to do a 1.15 layer thickness height. So you want to experiment with that. It's not going to be exactly 1 millimeter. You can start there and then you can move up and down depending, because this tells the machine how far to Z up. So it's going to Z up 0.15, and if you set it to 1 millimeter, it's going to Z up 1 millimeter. So you can start with 1 millimeter. So your layer thickness, your perimeter width over thickness, your fill, you want to adjust your infill width over thickness, and for your speed you want to adjust your feed rate, your flow rate, and you're probably going to have to adjust your object first layer, possibly, but I think you're going to get by with just adjusting your feed rate and your flow rate and not messing with this, because this is a ratio of this number. So that is changing your tip size. We will have more on this as we get our tips in, and we will see you later.